All right, welcome in to this week's session. I'm super excited to have a returning guest, Adam Porter, on the podcast with us today. Adam, good to see you.
Hey Zach, it's really great to be back. Thanks for dealing with me one more time here and having me back on with you. I appreciate it.
Always, for sure, and hopefully many more in the future, for sure. But happy to have you. And in fact, I had Adam on the show, episode 37. So if you go back a few episodes, and he talked about the first book that he wrote, children's story called "The Morning Ride," and super excited to have him back on and talk about other projects he's been working on, as well as a new release that just came out, and just other things. But Adam, for those people that haven't listened to the previous episode, if you could just give us a brief, introduction, who you are, where you're from, what you do, just kind of all those good things.
Yeah,
So yeah, go ahead, man.
yeah, absolutely. So, Adam Porter. Hey everybody. Again, happy to be on here with you today, Zach. And so just a little bit about me. So I am from Mesa, Arizona. Live out here with my 5 kids. I've been married for 20 years this December, actually. So we're full on veterans of marriage and kids at this point. So um, obviously that takes up a good deal of my time in life is just having fun with my kids and getting to enjoy them as they're growing up and now becoming young adults too. So professionally, I'm in sales and leadership coaching. So I coach and consult with leadership teams in the financial industry, and I've been 15 years at the company I'm at right now. I really enjoy that. So love doing some coaching and consulting there, specifically around sales, which is kind of funny coming into this thing of selling these books. Like it's a totally different space than what I'm used to. So I'm just learning so much as I go in terms of sales and marketing from a totally different angle. I was going to tell you a story since we last spoke, Zach. We all may have like that kind of small pit in our stomach when our kid tries something new, like if they're younger, they're going on their bike and they're maybe doing a bigger jump than they have before, just doing something like that. We just have that little pit of like, oh my gosh, like, this, if they crash, they're going to be hurt.
Yeah.
But I think I've discovered the ultimate like feeling there, which is new to me and my wife here, but kind of a bigger one. So my oldest just started driving very recently, has her
Man.
license on her own. So it's a whole new world with that in terms of that kind of pit in your stomach of like, oh, they left, and now it's great. We have all these apps that we can track where she's at and like what's going on. Like my parents didn't have that, when I first started driving, right? But
Right.
we get that with them now. But that's just a whole nother level of that feeling of just like, oh, she just left, and like she's out there on her own, making it these different destinations. So, but she's doing a great job. But that's kind of like a big development in our life since we last spoke. On top of the book stuff, is
Yeah.
we've got the kids growing up and venturing into these new spaces. But yeah, she's doing great, and we're super proud of all of them. And actually, we're hoping she's supposed to talk to a place today about a job. So things are just moving along, and life and parenting, all just moving forward.
I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
that's a little bit about me and what I have going on. Yeah.
no, that's great. And I mean, it shows that, they're growing up, that independence, they're starting to drive, get jobs, all those things. And it's wonderful. Good
Oh
steps
yeah.
for sure. That's
Yeah.
exciting. Cool.
Yep.
Well, I mean, as far as the book writing goes, yeah, give us an update on that. I mean, Bike Lane Co. is the name of your company, right? Yeah, give us an update
Yeah.
on how that is all going.
Yeah. So let's see. I guess I've been at it for around 2 years, something like that now. And so yeah, you mentioned the first book that I came out with. So it's called Morning Ride. A lot of good success with that one. Still continues to be my top seller in the books that I have. So a lot of folks enjoy that one. Since we last talked, I came out with a second book called 101 Mile Race. So this one is all about really detailing out the experience of a bike race for kids. And one of the things I love about that, because I've done a few races myself too, and certainly not anywhere near competing. It's just I'm maybe even coming in last place sometimes, but this book is kind of a realistic journey of that. So we've got mom as a hero in this one, and it kind of tracks her going through a bike race, and she ends at like, what did I have her at? Place 623 out of 845. So it's just kind of a fun book that shows a realistic adult side of a race. And it's not about the winning or losing, it's just about the journey of it and what you experience along the way. And then I just, recently released a brand new book called P is for Pedal, and this one is a alphabet book. It's a little bit different in terms of it's not necessarily a storytelling book, but it's going to take you through each letter of the alphabet, and every page has something interesting about bikes that you can talk to your kids about. So, to me, this one is a great fit for the young ones who may be more of those, ABC types of books, but even some of the, older kids getting to like 8 or so can still enjoy it and talk about the different things they see on bikes there. So, I've just been working on coming out with the new books. Have been to numerous events to connect with folks and talk to parents, and just trying to sort of grow what I'm sharing here with them with that. But that's kind of been where I've been heading, and I still have 5 or 6 more ideas in my head of future books to continue to display. A really big core of my books is showcasing the adult experience of riding bikes with kids, because I think they love that part too. Of like, it's one thing to like hear a story of a kid on a bike, but like, oh, if your dad rides, like you want to kind of get to see that side of it too, or your mom rides, like you get to see what they experience and see it through their eyes.
It's awesome. Yeah, talk to me about the idea of the ABC book. The P is for pedal. Yeah, where did that idea come from, and yeah, how did that come about?
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, funny enough, like a lot of times these ideas I have come from experiences reading to my own kids. So this was like around the time I was working on Morning Ride. My youngest son, Avery, we would read him this alphabet book, and it was about art, and it would just showcase different pieces of art, and talk about the painter and a little bit of their story, like when the painting came out. And there was just a lot of sort of not necessarily intended to be funny, but funny pictures he found funny in the book. So him and I just had this great time with this alphabet book about art. He would just laugh at some of the names. There's this one famous piece of art called Head of a Dog, and he just would crack up about that all the time. I don't know if it was just a straightforward description or what it was, but that was like his favorite page on there. A lot of the names are from a long time ago, so he would laugh about some of the names. So that's sort of the start of the idea. And once I was into making a second book, I was starting to think of like, well, this seems like I'm going to be making multiple books, so what other kinds of areas can I explore? And the idea of an alphabet book came a lot from that experience with him, and just developed it from there. And again, keeping to the spirit of the other books I have, which is again showcasing like real adult scenarios for cycling. So yeah, that's sort of where it started. Funny moment of just having a good time reading to my youngest son.
It's cool, and the book is awesome. It's beautiful. I was going through it from what you sent me, and I love it. I love how not only does each letter have an aspect of the bicycle riding, but then there's also, it talks about different parts that start with that letter, right? Or different ventures that you would go on. Yeah, so I think it's great, and it looks like the same illustrator, correct?
Yeah. So I've been working with Alyssa Whetstone for all the books, and she just does a fantastic job. I think I push her a little bit with the bike stuff because she's not necessarily a cycling person herself. So I'm always like, we're always going back and forth about little details on it, and
Yeah.
sometimes we'll both forget something, but yeah, she's done a great job, just really capturing the spirit of some of these scenes, and bringing her artistic flair to it as well. Like one of the pages I love, that she just did such a great job on is U is for uphill is one of the pages. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're watching the video, you'll be able to see, but she just did this incredible sunset scene with just some amazing colors. We added in a paraglider in the background as the mountain bikers heading up a steep hill, and
Mm-hmm.
just the way she captured the scene. We've got some rain in there too, so it's just a pretty dynamic a picture here. So that was one of my favorites. So just things like that where she just continually blows my mind in what she comes up with, and how she takes the kind of starting point I give her and adds her own flair to it. So lots of fun working with her.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and I specifically remember that picture because I was like, "Wow, it's such a cool scene with the rain and the paraglider cruising through the sunset." I love it. That's awesome. And yeah,
Yeah.
and to her credit, I mean, she nailed. I mean, like the rear derailleur and the dropper post, and all of the things
Oh
that
yeah.
all the intricate parts. Looks awesome. Her detail is
Yeah.
amazing. So great job.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I love it.
No, yeah, we love it. We're really excited about it. Like you mentioned, I mean, I think some of the, the features that I really like about the book. Like we said, each letter is going to be represented by something. So you'll have like the, writing page, you'll have like this one's G is for gravel, and we'll have a
Mm-hmm.
little short description of that. But then we also include a couple bonus items on here. So there's
Mm-hmm.
gloves or grips, other things that start with G. And then on every page too, I've got like a question that you can ask your kids as well as you read, which I think will be a lot of fun. Like I'm going to give an example, and Zach, I'm going to have you answer it if that's cool with you. I'm going to ask you one of the questions on here. Maybe we'll both give our answer.
All right. Lay it
So
on me.
let me pick a
I'm
good one
ready.
here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, one of my, let's see here, one of my favorite ones. So we've got R is for repair right here, which is one of my favorite pages too.
Mm-hmm.
And the question on this one is, what would you buy at the bike shop? So, if you just had some extra cash and you were going to be heading to the bike shop later on today, what's the top of your list for what you'd want to be buying right now?
Right now, it's going to the bike shop is always a dangerous venture for me. Never really sure how much I'm going to spend there. Um,
Exactly.
but I would probably say my commuter bike, definitely starting with G, definitely needs some new grips for sure. Like they're getting really
Okay.
I've used them way too much, and so I definitely need some new grips from the bike shop. Absolutely, yeah. So that's what I would say. How about you, Adam? What would
Yeah.
you buy from the bike shop?
I think we're on a pretty close same page there. So my main gravel bike, it's gone through 2 rounds of Unbound with the same bar tape, and I've just last time I was checking it out, it was really kind of tearing away in a couple places and really looking not so great. So I definitely need some new bar tape to put on there. And then I my shoes broke a couple months ago.
Mm,
I've got some extra ones, but some new shoes would be top of my list too for heading to the bike shop.
love it. Yeah, and I
All
was
right,
going
let
to
me pick
mention that
one
too.
more just for fun here.
Yes, yes, I love these questions.
Oh
That's what I
no,
was
go
going to
ahead, go
point
ahead.
out. Just I love the questions on the pages, like you said. It just opens up conversation for you to have with your kids or just anybody. Such
Yeah.
thoughtful questions. I love that element of the book too. This is great.
And that was kind of part of it too, is like I just want to create a lot of ways for like parents to share stories with
Mm-hmm.
their kids. Like here's one that you could ask your child, but also you might be able to tell them a story of something that happened to you, right? So here's the question from B is for brakes. And
Mm-hmm.
you've got a rider heading down a steep hill over here going pretty fast, which is, I know for me, is my most uncomfortable thing when I ride is really steep hills.
Yeah.
I just have a little extra cautious on those for myself. But the question here is, what could happen on a bike ride that would make you have to stop fast? So that's a question you could ask your child, like, hey, have them tell you, like, what's something that could happen, that would make you have to stop really fast. But then you could also tell them maybe a story of a time you had to stop really fast on a ride. So Zach, I don't know if you have one, but like, what's something that's happened to you on a ride where your brakes really came in handy and you had to, come to a quick stop before something bad happened?
Well, this actually happened a couple weeks ago. I was out riding with my friend Spencer, who I had him on the podcast recently. We were cruising down this nice little downhill mountain bike section, and we got to this lake, just a cool little lookout. And we were going pretty kind of slower, and I hit a stick like perfectly. In this, I've never had this happen before. The stick flipped up and literally wedged right in the back of my rear brake, bent my
Oh
rotor
my
all up,
gosh.
and so I mean I didn't use my brakes, but the stick used the brakes for me, and I just and luckily I didn't go over because we were going at a pretty small speed. So that was a bummer. I had to get a new derailleur for that, or a new rear brake disc. So, anyways, so that's
Mm,
what I had to stop for.
uh,
Yes, it was not fun.
yeah, which also caused a visit to the bike shop.
Exactly.
Right.
Which goes into the repair.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we had one this, obviously we're in summertime here in Arizona. It's really hot. So riding slows down quite a bit right now, unless you're going to be up super, super early. But when the weather was still just a little bit nice, my son and I went out and really just very close to our house. You get out of our neighborhood and head down a street and there's some canals up the way. And we were going to cross the street just to head to the other side of the canal and ride down the gravel trail from there. And uh, there's you can take a right hand turn from the road there, and a driver just went right in front of both of us, like we were
Mm,
riding together, and we had the right of way to keep going. The green green walk sign to go across the street there, and this car just zipped right in front of us, and we just slammed on the brakes super hard. And it's a great teaching moment with my son too, because we could talk about just the dangers of the road, and just here's an example of like, you're doing everything right, but someone else wasn't, right? And you got to really watch out for those other drivers or even other cyclists out there as well. So that was a time for us where the brakes came in really handy, and as well as a little bit of luck too, that we weren't just a little bit further ahead on the road there. So yeah, it definitely happens. But there you go. I mean, those are just a couple examples. Like, this is the kind of stuff I'd love for this book to generate for parents, where not only can you get your child interacting with the concepts in the book, but you can tell stories of your own rides along the way too. So two good examples. There's a lot. There's a question on every page. So those are just a couple, but there's a bunch more in there.
That's awesome. I was going to say, that driver wasn't your daughter, was it?
No, yeah, this was a couple months before she got her license. So
yeah, good
luckily she's pretty safe. She describes herself as a grandma driver. So, and she listens to classical music while she drives. At least that's what she tells me.
I'm all about that. In fact, anytime someone rides with me when I drive, they're like, "You drive so slow." Yeah, that's a good safe way to approach things for sure. But no, and that's what I was going to say, Adam. A lot of these questions on here brings up, teaching moments where you can kind of review stuff, because yes, it's great that kids have these experiences, but you kind of have to prep them for it, like going through these things. So having these discussions with them before and during and after, what a great space for this teaching to happen as they're reading this book. And that was another cool interactive piece that I wanted to mention. The end of the book, there's like a little map or something, right, where they have to kind of go through and they find all the letters, so it makes it like a little maze type thing. I love that's the sort of stuff for kids. My kids eat that stuff up. They love that.
Yeah, I have the originals here, the original drawings as well as the book. But yeah, we kind of doubled this one up, so it's both a maze, so you got to get through the bike track from start to finish down here at the bottom. But along the way, we have the alphabets hidden all throughout that. So I think it's a fun ending element to the book, where you can sort of like make it through the maze of the bike track, but then also try and find each letter of the alphabet in there too. So definitely an extra fun piece that I was excited to add into this one.
For sure. That's so cool. Well, Adam, I know that, you've been at this for 2 years and you've been kind of developing, different ideas and these books and everything. But I kind of want to ask you, what have been some of the struggles or the successes, some of the things that you've kind of encountered, through this entrepreneurial, ventureship as you've been going and creating this awesome company. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I'll share a couple wins, and then I'll share some of the things that maybe haven't quite been as far as I wanted it to go. Right. So couple wins. So one, really just the new book. Super proud of a lot of the details that I have in there, and just the way it came together. Like anything, like a project like this, there are so many revisions and changes that happen. I mean, I had this book written, actually. I think I had it pretty much done as I was still completing 101 mile race, and this one was just almost ready to go. But it changed so much all throughout that time. I just love that process of finding small things that make it just a little bit better. Like, I'll just share one other one really quick. So we're talking about these, but here's one that I just had a lot of fun exploring. So this is the R is for repair, and you've got a mechanic here working on a bike at the bike shop. And just the idea came to me of like, well, on all my books, I have the bike computer up in the top corner of the page to kind of show you where the ride's at. For this one, I decided to go with a receipt in the top corner. And, I thought that would be fun as the bike shop piece. And I also thought, like, wait a second, R is for repair, R receipt, it's all working together. And I've got each item on the list as something that starts with an R that, the person paid for in their receipt at the bike shop. So that kind of spun off into other ideas in the book, where I went away from just the bike computer to put something else up in that top corner to sort of showcase something about riding bikes in a different way. So like, those are the wins that feel really great, just this creative method and getting to, explore that and pick up on that. Another thing here too is part of the launch for the book, I'm doing some giveaways there. So certainly if anyone's listening, they can go on Instagram and find me there and participate in some giveaways. And, we might have talked about it before, but I collect classic Cannondales, and that's a fun part of my biking story. So I actually got Cannondale to help partner with me on the launch. So I've got a box right in front of me over here with items from Cannondale that I'm going to get to give away as part of the book launch. And that was just kind of a dream come true for me, where it's like, here's this big brand that replied to my email and my pestering of them, and like actually participated with me in it. So I'm really excited about that. I did joke with the person I contacted, they could also send me a brand new Cannondale Topstone gravel bike. I would take it if they wanted to send it to me.
Sure.
But they didn't come through on that one, but that's okay.
You might as well ask.
But yeah, super
ask.
grateful for things like that. Yeah. Yeah, and we have some other partners too. So there's another entrepreneur I've met who started this brand called Moose Packs. So they've given me some items to give away: gravel adventure field guide and untapped maple. So just really excited about having some folks weigh in on the launch of the book. So those are some of the wins. But in terms of some of the challenges, I think with any endeavor like this, it's not easy. I think one of the hardest parts for me is the social media part. I just struggle with many times with ideas for that, or to really understand how to work that world in a way that catches on and allows you to be seen out there. So that's certainly something. And I think too, I've just had different moments where it can be a little bit discouraging. Like, you have high hopes for this kind of a thing. You come up with an idea and you think it's like, in a good niche of things where it's like, oh, people really love this. There's not really a lot of other things like it out there. And you just think when you're heading into it, like, oh yeah, it's just going to catch on and everyone's going to see it and everyone's going to want to buy it. Right.
Yeah.
But success can be a lot slower than that. And that's kind of where I've been. Like, it's been going great. Like, I certainly can't complain. I think I've done pretty well overall, but it certainly hasn't exploded into something that, is allowing me to go travel bike events all the time and like just focus on the books only. I can quit my day job. You know what I mean? It's certainly nowhere near that. But there was one event I went to earlier this year, and, it just didn't go very well. There was going to be a lot of people there, and I was thinking I get a lot of traffic at my booth and sell a lot of books. And I just really did. And I sold a few copies, but nothing too big. And, in some of those moments, and I was even looking around at that time at some other brands that were there, and just like thinking like, oh man, maybe my thing just doesn't have it. Maybe my thing doesn't have whatever that X factor is that lets something explode and be something really, really a really big deal and everything. And, I'd look at some of these other booths and tents, and like, they had the budget for all the fanciest graphics and the setup and the giveaways and all kinds of different things. And I'm like, here, I'm just a dad just trying to throw some stuff together and make something that I hope other parents will enjoy. Right. And I'm looking at these other big name brands and going like, they've got like whole teams behind this and they're just doing great and people love it. Right. So there's some of those moments where maybe things don't come together the way you hope to or at the speed you hope to, but that's been a really fun part of the journey too. But you certainly have some of those discouraging moments too, where you go just like, I just wonder if my thing doesn't have the X factor that it needs. So, you have those, but you also have some great moments too, where people give you great feedback on it and you keep going from there.
Yeah. I hear you 100% on that for sure. So when you have these discouraging moments or these thoughts that pop in, disappointments, like, should I keep going with this, or what's the point? What keeps you going? What keeps you motivated, Adam? Why do you keep doing it? Why do you keep cranking out these books?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one thing is I really do believe in what I'm working on here. I do think what I'm creating has a unique factor to it, and it does tell the story of biking in a way that I think would be really great for parents. I'm doing it in a way I can be proud of. I'm making these books in a way that I would want to read to my kids. So that's one thing that keeps me going. But I will tell you, like, there was another circumstance that I think about with this. So I think this was the second race I ever went on. It was one here in Arizona. It's called Chino Grinder, and about 24 miles in. This was like a 62 mile race, right? And about 24 miles in, I got the worst leg cramps I've ever experienced in my entire life. And I was like, I'm done. I'm cooked. Like, there's nothing more left in me here. This was at like mile 24. And I was just struggling. It was getting hot outside. and the cramps just wouldn't go away. I mean, I had to like make a lot of stops. I finally made it to the turnaround point and started coming back. And I just remember just being in the middle of the desert and just felt like I was struggling through every inch of riding I was doing. And I just had this determination in my head of like, I'm going to finish this race. I don't care what
Mm.
happens. I just remember feeling delirious out there, like trying to just continue to pedal. And like, I could feel the exact amount of effort that would send my legs into a full cramp. And I was just trying to stay just underneath that so I could
Wow.
keep going. And I was so far behind, like I went with a friend. He was well done and through the finish line, right? And I'm still going along. And I remember coming to one of the final rest stops, and they were talking on their walkie-talkies about, oh, there's like two more racers left in the event, and I'm sitting there going
Mm.
like, okay, this is my final goal. I'm going to cross the finish line before those other two racers get there,
Mm.
right? So I just kept going along, and I just remember finishing that race, and that was the hardest thing I've probably ever done in my life, physically for
Yeah.
sure. I
Yeah.
just I couldn't believe I finished it. I've got pictures, and actually, funny enough, the very last picture in the 101-mile race, it's a little bit of a take off from it, but it's based off of a picture
Mm.
that was taken of me finishing that race and my family coming out to greet me. So, that experience of finishing that and feeling like this was just the hardest thing I've ever done, and all it was just a determination in my mind that I'm just going to keep going. I'm not going to stop, and I'm just going to finish this no matter what. That's a
Yeah.
lot of what comes back to me with these books too. Is like I try to step back and take, hey, I started this with the thought of, if all these books turn out to be is that my kids have them and they say, hey, check out these books that grandpa made and show their kids. That's cool enough for me. That's good enough
Yeah.
right there. If a
Mm.
family enjoys it and they love reading it, together, that's good enough for me there. So that's a lot of what I come back to, is just that determination, long-term view on it, and just the, trying to have the right viewpoint on the whole thing. But that experience of that race certainly, well, it was a big one for me, just to like showcase that determination and ability to finish it even when I really wanted to quit and be done with it for the day, but just kept going.
Yeah, and that determination for sure translates into other areas of your life, right? Like, not to get too clinical here, but from a mental health aspect, right? Like, that's why people will say, like, getting outside, exercising, moving your body, doing these things is one of the best things for our mental health, because we go through experiences similar to yours. I mean, not everyone has to go on a
Yeah.
62-mile ride to experience this, but it's good to push us through some of those things, because it trains these new pathways in our brain of being like, hey, if I can figure out how to complete this ride, even though I wanted to quit and it was the most painful thing I've ever done, then I can figure out these other areas of my life, right? I can figure out when I'm having a down day or I'm really
Mm-hmm.
anxious about something, I can take that same kind of mental approach and figure out how to regulate myself and figure out these other skills and these other habits to really calm myself down. So for sure, I mean, absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
it's beautiful how this bike riding experiences has helped translate over into you writing these books about bikes, right? And not giving up, and the
Yeah.
termination factor with that. I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would just, say overall, it's been an extremely, even with those down moments, it's
Yeah.
been such a great journey to give this a shot and try to bring these books to families. It's been so fun, and all of it totally worth it. And any of the downs have been worth the ups for sure.
Yeah, and just the creative process too, right? Like, for your brain to kind of go to all these different places and the revisions of all the different books and coming up with this stuff. I mean, that's again, just mentally, emotionally, socially, just being able to connect. That's such a wonderful process. So with Bike Lane Co. and the things you got going on, any new things on the horizon, or any other goals, or any other things that you're kind of pushing for, or hoping, working towards?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's all about the new book. So
Yeah.
just hoping to have as many families enjoy that as possible. One of the things I'm doing along with that is I'm gonna ride a mile for every review that I get for the book,
Hey,
and
all
I
right.
want to get I want to get 100 reviews.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I am nowhere near in shape to do a century ride right now, but I'm
You
going to
could do
do
it.
it if I can get 100 reviews on the book. So,
Heck yeah.
I'll have to get training on that one. But that's my big goal. So that'll be like a dual thing, because it'll be great for me to push myself to get in shape to do that if I can reach the 100 reviews. And if not, that's totally okay too. But that's going to be the kickoff to, once the Arizona summer chills out a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
back into riding a lot heavier. We'll be training for whatever number of reviews I get, however many miles that equals into. I mean, truthfully, even doing 50 miles right now would be really tough for me. So anything in there is going to be certainly a challenge. But that's going to be the big goal for now is, one, launching the book and,
Cool.
seeing how many miles I can get settled there and ride for people. So if they want to torture me, if any of the readers that I have want to, torture me here, just leave that review and it'll add to the, add to the suffering that I'll have there. But
Yeah.
overall, really the goal is, I just want parents to continue to connect about, bikes through these books. And one thought that I've really had about them recently is I think the kids may like the books, but they love their parents, right? When they look at their
Mm.
mom and they think, oh, my mom is my hero and she rides bikes, well, that's going to make the book cool and the experience of reading the book cool. If they look at their dad, they think like, oh, my dad's awesome. He rides bikes and he has these cool bikes and he's really into this hobby. That's what's going to make the book fun to read for them. So it's just like,
Mm.
that's just really my hope is that, parents and kids get to connect in a fresh way about this hobby that's part of their lives. Because I mean, obviously the books are really geared towards someone that's riding bikes and interested in bikes. And, that's what I want the kids to feel is like, well, this is cool because my dad is cool and he rides bikes, or because my mom loves riding bikes, right? So that's a thought that's kind of been in my mind, and just around the goal and sort of the why behind, continuing to make the books and share them out there with other folks.
Yeah. And, uh, I'm a huge proponent in getting more people on bikes, and it starts at a young age. And, unfortunately, there's a lot of kids that aren't learning to ride bikes because of, safety concerns and everything else, right? So
Sure, yeah.
I think the more that parents can talk about it with their kids and really help them and get out and talk about it. And again, these books provide a wonderful space to have those conversations. So I'm all about it because I've always said this movement is medicine. It's great for our minds. It's great for our bodies, and just being able to get out
Yeah.
and connect with nature and each other. So it's awesome. It's great stuff, Adam. And plus, I
Yeah.
mean, your shirt, dude, your shirt is awesome. How do I get one of those?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be giving a couple of these away as part of the book launch too, but I will have them available for sale soon as well. But this is sort of like a new slogan we're having along with the book. I've also got a
Mm-hmm.
mug here that I'm going to be giving away too, but it's the ABCs of cycling. So we just, to go along with the book, P is for pedal. We've got ABC, always be cycling is what it says here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be sort of our slogan to go along with the book launch here.
I love it. If I don't win one, I'm going to be the first on your customer list to get that shirt. That's
There we
sweet. I
go.
love
Awesome.
it. Yeah. So how do people find you if they want to buy your book, or they want to follow you social media, or just in general? Yeah.
Yeah.
How do they get in contact with you?
Yeah, I mean, really, Instagram has been my continued go-to there. I think it's just one of the most social places that I've found, and trying out different places there. So that's where I'd probably point you to is go follow me on Instagram at Bike Lane Co. And please check in, send me a message, ask me a question, share a picture of you reading the story to your kids. All that stuff is just fantastic. So that'd be the best place to come find me and see what's going on. That's where you can find the book launch stuff. If you want to be part of the giveaway with things, find me on Instagram, and we'll get you into our I'm gonna have a drawing at some point, pick some names. I'll have to figure out some kind of a biking. Maybe I'll use a helmet or something. And pick names out of a helmet, and see who wins all the awesome stuff that we have ready to go for everybody.
For sure. I love it. Well, you don't have to do this, but just an idea. For our bike advocacy group in our city, we made a little booth, and I was like, oh, we need a prize wheel. And I was like, let's get a bike wheel. And so we rigged up a
Oh
bike wheel, and
yeah.
that's our prize wheel that we spin. It's awesome. Kids love it. They see the
Uh,
bike right there and the bike tire, and they love spinning it. So yeah, all sorts of different things, cool things you can do with it for sure.
that's a good one. I do have a couple spare wheels hanging around with all my vintage bike stuff, so
Yep.
I'd probably have one I could use for that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, good stuff. And Adam, honestly, I commend you for the things you're doing. I know, being a dad of 5 kids, and working and everything on top of that in the creative process, man. So kudos to you. That's a lot of work and a lot of effort that goes into it, but I love it, and it's something that you're passionate about, and it's helping other people, it's connecting them. So great work, man.
Yeah,
Keep it up.
I appreciate it. That's what it's all about. So, thanks again for having me on.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll stay in contact. I'm excited for the books, the merch, and everything else out. But we'll definitely stay in contact. All right, Adam.
You got it. Thanks,
All
Zach.
right. Have a good day, man.